He had just pulled into the garage, turned off the engine, pressed the remote for the door, which slowly began closing, gradually submerging the garage in darkness, and allowed himself to lean back in his seat, close his eyes, take a deep breath, and try to calm down a bit. It had been a crazy day. In the morning, just hours before the final deadline for the quarterly report, they had discovered an error in a spreadsheet, with serious implications for the overall report. The entire department stopped to find the source of the error, which meant combing through the transaction records of a multinational company for the last 3 months. As the deadline approached, tensions had risen, and the day had been exhausting. Fortunately, at the last minute, the error was corrected, and the report was sent, but the whole department was worn out. Some still wanted to celebrate their success at a bar where they often gathered after work for a drink, insisting their boss join them. But today, he was exhausted and declined. TGIF. Thank God it's Friday, he thought as he stood up, opened the car door, and stepped out, entering the house through the garage. He left his briefcase on the small table just inside the door, as he did every day, and started removing his tie as he walked toward the kitchen. He shouted, "I'm home," entered the kitchen, and headed to the fridge. He grabbed a cold beer, opened the glass bottle, took a sip, and felt a moment of peace and satisfaction as the cold liquid slid down his throat. His moment of peace was promptly interrupted by his wife, who burst into the kitchen, asking with a tone that was both urgent and slightly angry, "Where have you been until now?" He turned to see her standing there, wearing the open robe and the agent provocateur lingerie he had bought her for their wedding anniversary, which he had only seen her wear once. Her hair was clearly styled at a salon, and she was in the middle of applying makeup. The sight made him pause. "Traffic," he finally replied. There was terrible traffic today. An accident blocked access to the highway. She looked at him with narrowed eyes, her expression showing anger and uncertainty as to whether she believed him. He pulled his phone from his jacket pocket, did a quick Google search, and handed her the phone with an open news article. She saw it and relented. "Damn, but does it always have to be like this? And you got home at this hour and came to relax in the kitchen instead of getting ready?" Only then did it dawn on him. The party. Damn, he thought. Of all days, it had to be today. This was definitely a Friday that wasn't going his way. "Look," he said, "honestly, I have no desire to go. I've had a terrible day, and having to go to one of those rich people parties just because we have to show up. I'm not in the mood. Don't even think about it. You know how hard I worked to get this invitation. Do you know that almost no one gets invited unless they belong to a certain social circle? And being invited. Don't ruin this for me. You promised you'd come." He looked at her. It was true, he had promised. He resigned himself. "Go get ready quickly. I'm almost done. I reserved dinner at that French restaurant where we went for Valentine's Day, and it's almost time. Your clothes are on the bed." He finished the beer in one gulp. The effect it had before the conversation was completely gone. He went upstairs and headed straight for the bathroom. He undressed, looked at himself in the mirror, and realized how tired he looked. He sighed. He stepped into the shower, and the warm water hit his skin like a bomb. He stood under the shower with just the water running over him, hoping it would wash away the exhaustion. He got out of the shower, dried himself off, and decided to shave. He knew, from the little preview he'd had, that his wife was going all out tonight. It was some kind of gala event, and everyone had to dress the part. He finished shaving and looked at himself closely. He dried his hair, put on some gel, and styled it to look sharp. Then, he left the bathroom, got dressed in the clothes she had laid out for him, and looked at himself in the mirror. 48 years old, but he looked really good for his age. He usually knew he attracted some attention from the opposite sex, something he acknowledged with humor but didn't dwell on. Since meeting his wife, all other women had faded away. Of course, his good looks had paid off before he met her. He had been an introverted kid and had never had much luck with the opposite sex. It was only at the end of university, when he decided to join a gym and start working out, that things changed. His excellent physical condition drastically changed the way he was seen, and suddenly, the women who had ignored him before seemed determined to be with him. And he? Well, he had taken full advantage of the abundance that followed the drought, perhaps more than he should have. But then he met her, and no one else mattered. 24 years later, with 2 kids in university, and here they were. And he had never lost the habit of training, continuing to have an enviable, well-defined body for a man his age. He looked at himself in the mirror, dressed in his tuxedo, and thought, at least I won't embarrass her, with a mischievous smile. He left the bedroom, went downstairs, and found her already waiting for him in the living room, something unprecedented in their entire marriage. She had never waited for him before, quite the opposite. When he saw her, he could swear his heart skipped a beat. She was wearing a turquoise strapless dress, with a sheer neckline that showed just enough of her bust to catch the eye of any man with blood in his veins. The dress clung to her body naturally, accentuating her curves. Although it was long, reaching her feet, a slit on the right side rose up to her thigh, clearly revealing, when she moved, her well-toned leg in those silk stockings and the garter holding them up. The outfit was completed with a pair of high stiletto pumps, which made her legs look even longer. She was irresistible. "Are you sure you still want to go out?" he asked with a playful tone. "Cut it out, we're late," she replied with a tone that left no room for discussion but with a mischievous sparkle in her eye, a sign that she understood and appreciated his insinuation. Maybe this Friday won't be so bad in the end, he thought to himself as he grabbed the car keys and followed her to the garage.